In my last video of recreating all of the Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach Ruin DLC in Minecraft, we took a look at the biggest attraction of the Mega Pizzaplex and built the Roxy Raceway. But now continuing on with this series, today we're going to be moving on to Chapter 7 of Ruin and build all of Bonnie Bowl. Before we begin, I'd like to remind you that if you do enjoy this video, then make sure to leave a like on it and subscribe with notifications turned on so that way you can help support me throughout this build. But without any more further ado, let's take a look at Bonnie Bowl. Throughout this entire series, I've brought up many times that the Pizzaplex has had some major changes made to it compared to the base game, but I don't think anything comes close as to how much the layout of Bonnie Bowl has changed for Ruin. In Security Breach, Bonnie Bowl is seen to be right next to the Roxy Raceway and also directly connects to Fazer Blast, which is a floor under it. But now if we take a look at the outlines for the Minecraft build, you can see that the entire attraction has been flipped over by 180 degrees and is now nowhere near where it's supposed to be. This is all because of the back hallways that connect Bonnie Bowl back to the Roxy Raceway, which are all brand new to the DLC, but now causes the layout of the Pizzaplex to be completely different. Now while this doesn't affect the Minecraft build in any way, it's definitely the most weird and confusing change made to the Pizzaplex, and I couldn't help but bring this up since I've built the normal Pizzaplex a few years ago and wanted to compare it to this one. But with annoying inconsistencies aside, the outlines for the build itself ended up being the most simple to set up out of any in the project so far, even though there's still a lot of Ruin details that need to be added. So with all of the preparations now finished, let's get into a time lapse and get started working on the build. The back hallways are now all completed and the first part of the build is now all in place. This entire section of the Pizzaplex is a massive contrast between anything else so far in this project, as these hallways are much more narrow and linear and also have lots of different brightly colored rooms. Finding the right shade of color to use for these while also making sure that the build still looked run down was quite challenging, but it made me build in new ways that I never have before. The bright blue hallways ended up being my favorite part of it since there's not many blue blocks to work with in Minecraft, but I think the mix of light blue and cyan blocks worked really well in my favor. Not only is this a fun area to look around, but there's also a few hidden Easter eggs that make every room worth exploring. Then at the end of it all is the doorway that eventually leads to Bonnie Bowl, where we start out in the small basement underneath the attraction. This goes up to the yellow hallway behind the ice cream parlor and now directly connects what's just been built to the main part of Bonnie Bowl. The overall structure itself hasn't changed much since Security Breach, but there's still some noticeable changes like a brand new hallway underneath the bowling alley and also the two rooms behind it, with one containing the broken body of Glamrock Bonnie. This is one of the areas that I've personally been looking forward to building the most in this project, so let's not waste any more time and finish working on the build. And now with a total build time of 12 hours and 9 minutes, Bonnie Ball has been fully built and another section of the ruined Pizzaplex is now all completed. Though a lot smaller in scale compared to the other attractions, there is still a lot going on with the build, as almost every part of it could be seen as a completely different area. The bowling alley itself is nearly unrecognizable as both sides of it have collapsed, all while the ceiling has also caved in and splits the room in two. And as a bonus fun fact about this part of the build, the hallway under the bowling alley is also a brand new addition to the DLC, but doesn't actually lead anywhere since both sides of it have been walled off. Then of course behind the final bowling lane is the hidden walkway that opens up when all of the wet floor bots have been deactivated, which reveals the small room where Glamrock Bonnie was decommissioned by Monty. This, however, is not the only room dedicated to Bonnie, as behind the curtain in the ice cream parlor is his green room, where staff bots used to pick up the bowling pins right next to it. Now taking a look at the more open areas of the attraction, many of the decorations have moved around to block off different walkways, and giant tarps now cover up the trashed areas where all of the wind-up music men would be wandering around. This also carries over to the Fazcade next to it, which still has all of the arcade games inside, but the room itself is now a lot harder to walk around with the scaffolding and wires that are trashed around. Finally is the entrance hallway where the elevator has been completely blocked off and different parts of the hall have broken apart to reveal the pipework of the building. Just like the back hallways, this once again has a lot of blue colors, but the amount of rubble and equipment really helped to capture the ruin look. However, now that Bonnie Ball has been fully built, it's now time to transform this build into its AR form. This is the part of the project where a copy of the build is made and pasted underneath the main one, so that way we can teleport between the two when we use the Vanny mask. Eventually, once this map has been completed, we'll be able to go here to deactivate the security nodes and unlock the areas that would usually be blocked off. So with that being said, let's get into one last time lapse and complete all of Chapter 7 of Ruin. With the final features now added, everything to do with this build is now all completed and there are only 2 sections left until the ruined Pizzaplex has been fully built. As always, the AR builds are filled in with crying obsidian to recreate the glitching textures, but it's the added objects to the build that make each attraction unique. These range from small changes like bowling shoes hanging from the ceiling, to even the massive bowling balls that take over the broken lanes. However, this version of the build isn't just for show, as sometimes we need to use the Vanny mask to pass through an area that would otherwise be blocked off in the normal world. As mentioned earlier, the way the Vanny mask works is by putting on a player head which will teleport us down to the build below, and then taking it off will teleport us back up to the original build. But overall, Bonnie Ball was a bit of a different build compared to the other chapters of Ruin, but I think that the ending result fits perfectly with the rest of the project. But that is now going to wrap it up for today's video. I hope that you enjoyed it and are excited to see the final parts of this project. If you're interested in all future projects of mine, then make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel with notifications turned on, so that way you know next time I upload, and can also help the channel to continue to grow. But with that being said, thank you everyone so much for watching, and I will of course see you in my next video.